I love playing video games. Literally millions of guys do. Gaming is one of the biggest and most, honestly, profitable industries in the leisure sector. People love playing video games. And I have a theory as to why. I think one reason video games are so beloved by men all across the world is video games bring simplicity to life. When you are doing a video game, you have very clear objectives and goals and things that you're trying to do and avoid. You know what matters in the game. You know what doesn't matter in the game. You have very clear indicators of what's a main quest and what's a side quest, what's a win and what's a loss. The funny thing about video games is that they're not easy, especially if you're playing against other people or playing a game like Dark Souls that's designed to be hard. They can be very challenging. But when you know what you're trying to do, you can have fun trying it. You can have fun learning. You can have fun working towards that goal. There's a sense of accomplishment there when you get really good at the game or you've upgraded your character to what you're trying to get to. Video games offer all of this. And life seems to just not. Life is vague and confusing, and you're getting told 1,000 different things 24/7. And so you can get away from the overwhelm into a space where there are boundaries. You see, we're actually talking in this series about boundaries. And today we're going to talk about why your life should be more like a video game. Hey guys, I'm Reese Maxwell from Thriving Man Life Coaching, where our goal is to help you conquer your everyday chaos and build a thriving life. If you like this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel. We got plenty of content going out, and you can share it with someone that you think it would help. We're talking today about how you can make your life a little bit more like a video game with boundaries. Video games have all kinds of boundaries set in place that we don't even think about, but it makes actually achieving things in this game world so much more simple than in the real world. In the real world, all of this overwhelm and vagueness hits us 24/7, so we go to a game because there's clarity there. There's obvious rules. And the thing is that you can use boundaries to bring some of these rules to your own life in 3 core areas. Area number 1, video games have clear goal lines. I love the game Skyrim. It was very, very fun to me. I'm a big RPG person and I love open world games. The cool thing about open world games is you get to choose what you do. But here's the catch. Every time that you choose a quest or an ability you want to upgrade, it's very clear what you're trying to do. So like if you go to the Dark Brotherhood and you got to assassinate somebody in that video game, it's very obvious what you're trying to do. The main quest is that you're trying to save the world from these dragons. If you want to join the Companions Guild, maybe your main goal is you want to get those werewolf powers or something like that. There's all kinds of paths to choose, but once you choose one, the goal is clear. I like that. I think we all like that because life doesn't give that to us automatically. I remember one time in college, I became an RA of one of the dorms. So I was over a hall of 26 guys and they said, all right, lead. And I'm like, okay, what's that mean? Does leading do I need to drop by their rooms and just say hey all the time or send them texts or what do I do? And I was very confused as to how to succeed in that area. And in fact, I made some wrong assumptions that caused me a lot more of a headache than I even needed because I didn't have a clear goal in mind for what I was trying to do for leading that hall. You see, video games give you clarity, and we can use boundaries to give ourselves clarity. What are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to do? What does success look like? Those can be clear lines that you draw in the sand that can serve as a goalpost for you to aim towards, as a main quest for you to try and achieve, or even a side quest for you to try and achieve. We need clarity with our goals. The second thing that video games give us are very clear out of bounds. If you have played video games for any length of time, you've run into one of those invisible walls where you're just like, and you can just keep running, but it's just like a flat, invisible wall that you just can't get past. We've all had those moments. Probably my favorite version of that is the game ATV Offroad, where if you ran into the invisible wall, it would just launch you like a half mile through the air and you'd slam on the ground. It punished you for finding those out of bounds. But it was clear. You knew where you could go. You knew where you couldn't go. Back in the day with Halo 3, there was a certain map where once you moved out of bounds, it started throwing up these landmines that would kill you. You knew where you could go. You knew where you couldn't go. Life also doesn't do that. You can hop in your car and go wherever. You can kind of do whatever. We need lines in the sand of where we're going to go or where we won't go. A couple weeks ago, I talked about how boundaries can help us avoid that slow fade where we start these bad habits without even noticing it. We've got to have out of bounds in our own lives. Video games have that. We need that. Then finally, the beauty of a video game is you have a very clear sense of progress, a very clear path to achieving that goal, in a sense that you're making headway towards that goal. Think about skill trees in RPGs. You literally get new skills and you can see this whole little tree of, if you get this ability, you can unlock these. Or if you are playing Marvel Rivals or even any sports video game, when you get a certain number of wins, you can raise your rank. You can get higher levels. And even though you're not unlocking new abilities, you have this sense of accomplishment. You've got this sense of progress. Boundaries can help you do this as well, because when you set a goal, you can also begin to set lines in the sand of what does progress towards that goal look like in my life. So like for me, learning Spanish is a big goal for me. My wife is Latina, and so is a lot of her family. I've got family that literally cannot speak much English at all. And I want to be able to talk with them at holidays and be able to connect with them. I don't want the language barrier up there. Learning a language takes a long time. And a lot of times there's not a clear sense of progress, because you get one sentence and you're like, I got it. And then you get another sentence and you're like, I have no idea. So for me, what helped me was I started with Duolingo. I started, okay, let me just keep this streak up in Duolingo. And then from there, I developed to, all right, let me learn more music. And then, okay, let me start watching the Spanish show. Let me start trying to talk to my wife in Spanish, even though I sound like a 2-year-old. You can begin to set these little boundary markers as indicators of progress. We all need that. We need this sense that we're making progress. Video games give that to you automatically, but you can use boundaries to give that to yourself. And it's a wonderful gift. So I want you to ask yourself a couple big questions that will help you establish healthy boundaries. Question number 1. What are some goal lines that I'm aiming towards? What kind of life do I want to live? If we're comparing it to video games, what kind of game am I playing? Am I doing a sector that's competitive? Am I doing something where I'm just going out doing my own thing? It's important to know what you're aiming towards. Second, what are things that would get in the way of that goal? What are things that would get in the way of that goal? What would sabotage my progress towards this goal that I've set? Those are things you want to set out of bounds for. You don't want to be able to go into those areas. So for example, like with me learning Spanish, If I set a boundary of like, I'm not going to try and learn another language right now. I'm not going to try and learn sign language. I'm focusing on Spanish. So I'm setting this out of bounds objective. And then finally, third, what are things that can be indicators of progress along the way? What are things that will further the agenda towards that goal? What are things that are main quest things? You know, if you want to grow spiritually, maybe one of those sense of progression is having a regular devotional life or getting involved in a church. Or if it's emotional with your wife, maybe it's setting a weekly date night, or getting her a gift because she's a big gift person. You want clear indicators of progress. A video game gives all these things to you automatically, and it helps so much. So let's begin to do the work to get that into our own lives. Boundaries will help you live life a little bit more like a video game, and it'll make life not only more satisfying, but more fun along the way. If you want more resources to be able to do this, go to thrivingman.com, and I will see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Thriving Man podcast. If you want to check out more resources from David and Reese, you can go to thrivingman.com. We'll see you in the next episode.
If you follow the feelings, that little toddler inside, you're never going to get to a point where you're living a life you can be proud of. Boundaries help you push yourself because you've got this line, not that you're trying to avoid, but that you're trying to go for. So it's a key thing to have for the good side of things, and it raises your confidence. If you say, I just don't have a lot of self-confidence, I don't have a lot of self-respect, I would challenge you to examine your life and say, do I actually keep the boundaries I say I'm going to keep? And if the answer is no, that's probably part of the reason you don't have a ton of self-respect. If you want to gain respect for yourself, it's earned. Now, self-love is given. That's unconditional. But self-respect is earned through your actions. If I say I'm not going to do something, I'm not going to do it. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. That integrity bolsters your self-confidence and your self-respect. And it's important for you becoming your best self. So you say, Reese, how do I start to do this in my life? How can I begin to relate to myself better through boundaries? I want to ask you 2 core questions. And I would challenge you, think about these questions and write them down. Question 1. What boundaries would prevent the worst in me? If I have a bad habit, something that I just know is not the best for me even, what are some boundaries I could set in place to be able to prevent that from sabotaging my life? I'll give you a neutral example from my own life. I remember at the beginning of last year, I realized I was watching way too much anime. I love anime. I've got this Naruto shirt on. But I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm actually spending way more time watching these TV shows than I actually am living my life in the evenings. Like I need to put some boundaries on this. So I had a season where my challenge to myself is for the next 6 months, I'm only going to watch anime on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, not watching it at all. And it was a challenge, to be honest. It sounds ridiculous, but it was. And it helped me to develop some self-discipline, to be able to say, no, now's not the time, and not watch it. Another question I want to ask you is, what boundaries will bring out the best in me? What boundaries will bring out the best in me? Think from the perspective of a coach. Like if you were with me in the room and I was doing life coaching for you, and I wanted to help you reach your potential, what would I challenge you to do? Is it a physical habit? Is it a spiritual habit? Maybe a mental and emotional way of thinking that needs to be optimized in your life? When you take that from just a vague idea and actually write it down, make that line in the sand, then all of a sudden you're empowered to live differently and know the difference between success and failure. It's an important thing to do. It's key to not only avoiding the bad, but living out the good. That's how you can relate to yourself better. Establish some of those boundaries. And I'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Thriving Man podcast. If you want to check out more resources from David and Reese, you can go to thrivingman.com. We'll see you in the next episode.